Hi, I'm Dr. Paul Meier, founder of the Meier Clinics. Every year we have the privilege of doing over $1 million worth of charitable care to over 3,000 clients. But for every one we see, we turn away 3. In the year 2003, we became a 501c3 nonprofit corporation so that we could hopefully not turn away those other 3 for every one that we see. And I'd like to give you just a couple of case studies to show you the types of cases that we have seen in the past for free or for a reduced fee. I'm actually going to tell you about a couple of patients that we treated for free. One was a Lutheran minister's wife in Sweden, and many of my books have been translated to other languages, and they had read Happiness is a Choice in Sweden. And this particular pastor's wife had a very severe condition caused by stress and post-traumatic stress and childhood abuse situations and all that sort of thing. Even though she had a wonderful husband and a wonderful church and wonderful children, the past stress that she had caused so much panic and emotional stress that her brain actually swelled to the point where she was unconscious for a couple of months at a time. And the Swedish psychiatrist considered her incurable and committed her to their state hospital. In fact, the pastor called my phone and left a message on my phone saying that they had read Happiness is a Choice and she was getting ready to go to the hospital. Do we have any suggestions? And I called back as some Lutheran nuns were praying with her, basically giving her last rites, assuming that she would die from the swollen brain. And I called back and said, if you can get her here, we'll treat her for free. Let her come to our day hospital in Dallas and I'll treat her for free. And so somehow they got her, they prayed over her, and somehow she got well enough to fly here and come for counseling. And it took about 3 weeks of counseling. But when we do counseling at our day program suite, we do intensive, insight-oriented counseling because we believe if the truth sets you free, you'll be free indeed. And so we dug up her childhood pains and we dug up the abuse situations and we got her to weep every day and we hugged her, and she had never been given a birthday party, so we threw one for her, even though it wasn't her birthday. We threw her a birthday party and bought her a teddy bear and things like that. But as a result of digging and probing and digging out these root problems, the intensive insight-oriented therapy from a spiritual perspective, she got totally well and went back to Sweden totally well, and the doctors there couldn't believe it. They wrote up articles all over Sweden about it because they were so surprised. And a year later, she called me up and said, Dr. Meier, can you come to Sweden and train the psychiatrists and psychologists here in Sweden about your approach? And so I did that, and I got a chance to go there and train a whole bunch of psychiatrists and psychologists, and as well as pastors and missionaries in Sweden. Now this lady is one of the leaders in the Christian psychology movement in Sweden, and she's been doing great ever since. I just talked to her on the phone a little while ago, and we treated her many years ago. Another case that we treated for free, in a way we treated for free, I'll tell you that about how that happened, was a young lady who grew up here in the United States in a a state very far away from Texas. I'll just say that. And I won't use her name, even though I know she wouldn't care if I did. She's given me permission to, but I won't. But she grew up in a very abusive childhood and had a lot of childhood trauma and had lifelong suicidal thoughts, negative self-talk, panic feelings, and yet somehow she became a Christian in high school and did better, married a really nice guy, got a college degree, became a school teacher, had some nice kids, and yet still had these haunting things from her past eating away at her and making her periodically suicidal and periodically anxious. And then an incident happened where she suffered some abuse in her adult life by an authority figure in her life. And that triggered flashbacks and memories. And she made up her mind she was going to commit suicide. Her family doctor knew she was depressed and put her on an antidepressant, but it just wasn't enough. And so this lady decided to kill herself. She got in her car. She sped down a highway at over 100 miles an hour, heading for a bridge abutment that she knew of in order to run into it and kill herself. And right before she got to that bridge abutment, her steering wheel locked. And so she missed the abutment that would have certainly killed her. And instead, her car went into a muddy ditch next to it. And so she crashed into the muddy ditch, and she lived, and her car didn't, but she did. And her car, when it hit the ditch, the radio bounced on, And of all things, it bounced onto a spiritual station, music station, where the song was playing, out from the ashes, God will save you out from the ashes. So she thought that was definitely more than a coincidence, and she thought, oh, in spite of me wanting to die, God wants me to live somehow. And so she got her husband to come get her and take her home. And as she was walking in the door at home, her family doctor, who did not even know that she had attempted suicide but knew she was depressed, her family doctor was calling her. So as she walked in the door, the phone was ringing. She picked up the phone. It was her family doctor, a lady doctor. And the family doctor said, I want you to go down to Texas and get treated at the day program there by Dr. Paul Meier, and I'm going to foot your bill. So that one, we didn't treat, but her family doctor did. And so we gave her a discount, and the family doctor paid the rest of the bill. This lady got extensive insight-oriented therapy. We dug out her root problems. We do really intense Gestalt techniques and all sorts of different techniques to dig out root problems. Gestalt techniques are things like writing a letter to abusers that you don't mail, but that helps you get in touch with feelings, or putting abusers in an empty chair and telling them how you feel. And we use, again, very spiritual things, and prayer, and all sorts of things of that nature too. And after about 3 to 4 weeks, she was totally well and happy, and got rid of all the panic and did great. Went back home, went back to teaching for a little while, and then she decided, you know what, I'd like to help other victims of abuse in the future, because I so appreciate being relieved of my panic and depression and suicidal thoughts. And so she ended up getting a master's degree in psychology, and then she started working for a mission organization that helped abuse victims around the whole world, and now she runs that organization. I could go on and on about other case studies that we've treated as part of our charitable care. I know of a couple of the females that we treated who are speakers in large women's conferences now. And some of the male people that we've treated for free in the past are now political leaders and having all sorts of responsible jobs. And so it's an important thing that we do. I'm not saying that everyone that we treat has to become some leader of some mission organization. I guess these are my proudest moments, you know, when I see something like that happen, somebody that I can help ends up helping others. That does make me feel really good. But the people that we treat, they get loved, they get insight, they get a relationship with God. We help them develop a better relationship with their families and with their friends. And loving and being loved is what it's all about anyway. And we're so happy now that our companies have become a nonprofit company, so they're not owned by me in any way anymore. They're owned just by God, and I'm one of His employees. And so now we're a 501c3, and we would like to not have to turn away 3 people. When people call in that are feeling suicidal, including last week I got a phone call from a missionary from another country that really needed treatment, and we just couldn't afford to do it because we were at, past our maximum capacity. And there's only so much that you can do. And so even Jesus, when He was doing His ministry on earth, didn't heal everybody that was sick, just the ones that got to Him. And we'd like you to be part of that healing process in these people's lives. We're helping people from around the world of all ages and all socioeconomic backgrounds, and we're doing charitable care for those who can't afford it. And we'd like for you to be part of that process. We'd like to give you the opportunity to be part of that process and feel like what you're doing is helping save families, it's helping save lives of people who are suicidal, it's helping their children, it's helping their children's children, and many of the people who get helped end up helping many others with similar hurts. Please feel free to partner with us and contact us at 1-888-7-CLINIC or contact us at our website, www.meierclinics.org. Thank you very much for this opportunity to share this opportunity with you.